Hey guys, how's it going? It's Andy from MagooInvesting. Happy Tuesday. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down my current stock portfolio for March of 2020. It's really interesting coming into this month because going into February, I ended up posting on the community tabs on my YouTube channel asking, do people kind of want to see what my portfolio looks like? January was a pretty level month. We had a lot of volatility at the beginning with the Iran news, but then January was pretty normal overall. February is not the case. I feel like this is a video I should make just to kind of reassure people that are read during this really volatile time in the market that you're not the only one. I'd be as transparent as possible and kind of show all of the price action that's gone along with my portfolio in the month of February. And that'll include all of the losses, all of the gains, which stocks I've sold and which stocks I've added to, and kind of talk about my current state of my portfolio and what I plan to do in the future. Before we get started, I gotta say that I'm not a licensed financial advisor and I highly recommend talking to a professional, someone that can find you the best place to put your money going forward. In addition, I really appreciate if you hit that like and subscribe button, as well would help my channel out a lot. Alright, so I'm gonna put up a chart that shows the position sizes that I had at the beginning of February and then the size that it was at the beginning of March. Just kind of show how my portfolio has moved over time. And some of the things that should jump out is stuff like Snap had a really tough month. Everything else looks decent. I've sold all of my Macys position, which is why that the second for March 1st is 0, and that has gone into my cash. So I've gotten a little bit out of the stock market and have a little more money sitting in cash right now. So overall, I did all of the math through all of my positions, including my stocks and Bitcoin, and it appears like my portfolio is down 6.5% in the month of February. That is not including today. If people were paying attention to the market on Monday, the stock market had an incredible day, one of its best days in about 2 years, going up 4 to 5% depending on where you looked. And so I'm not including that because this is March, and I'm just including the month of February. So this is not as bad as it actually looks right now, but for the month of February, I lost 6.5%, which, you know, that's a tough month for sure. But when I compared it to the Dow Jones that was down almost 9%, I felt pretty good. When you're comparing your portfolio to the overall market, it makes you feel really good when you see that your stocks that you've picked that are very diversified in the types of holdings that you're in outperform the market. Or I guess, I don't know if you consider it outperforming if it just means that it didn't go down as much as the overall market. But it's just kind of a good thing to look at and see how your stocks are doing compared to the overall market. Because if you're not doing as well, or if you're doing worse than the overall market, why not just buy an index or an ETF that follows the market completely? Because you'll be doing better. So in this video, I'm going to break down each of the individual stocks I own, talk about what happened in the month of February, and talk about if my thought process has changed at all with the company. Some of these stocks I've talked about recently in some videos, so I'm kind of go light on those ones and go heavier into some of the companies I haven't talked as much about. First up, we're going to talk about a company that I've been very vocal about in the past, and that is Snapchat, ticker symbol SNAP. This was my worst performing stock of the month, being down 23% in the month of February alone. This isn't all just because of coronavirus stuff. The main thing was that they missed earnings during, I think it was like the middle of the month. And so that kind of pushed the stock, I think it was 15% down. And so that's the reason why it's down over 20% this month, and it has really nothing to do about coronavirus. Snap is a company that I've been very vocal about. I've made a whole video talking about how I was going to add to my position after that news event. However, I have not been able to add to that position because I had a weird glitch when I moved my portfolio stuff from Robinhood over to TD Ameritrade. Somehow my Snap shares got left behind. So as I've started to liquidate some of my positions on TD Ameritrade, I have cash sitting in the TD Ameritrade account, and I have the rest of my shares of Snap sitting in Robinhood. And I kind of want them to be together. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that, but as the market continues to fall, it looks like a better and better deal. The most attractive thing, in my opinion, about Snapchat is the increase in daily average users, which they've been very steady at. If you want to see a more thorough breakdown of Snapchat, I'll put the link up to the top talking about what happened after the earnings. I break down the earnings and explain why I'm still as bullish as ever about Snapchat. Next up, I'm going to talk about Activision Blizzard, ticker symbol ATVI. This is one of the better performing stocks. I think it was my second best performing stock, being down less than 1%, which is very impressive. Activision has been a very level stock for the entire time that I've held it. As I was watching it for the months upcoming, people kept asking how long it was going to be until I took a position, because I was very vocal about how bullish I was on the company. And when it finally broke above the level I was watching, I took a position. And it's kind of been one of those companies where I've bought it and I just kind of forget about it. It's not something that gets talked about in the news very much and gets pulled because of that, and it's just been very steady. I've talked about when I reviewed my top stocks for 2020 video, I talked about some of the problems that are going along with Activision Blizzard and how I don't think it's going to affect them that much. I thought that esports and the expansion into esports is one of the most attractive things about Activision, and as a result, they've had some problems with having to cancel games in China and Korea because of coronavirus, but I think that since it's such a small proportion of their overall business model right now, I think they have the potential to expand very well into that and have it not affect their bottom line really bad this month. Also, as we get new consoles coming out in the next year, I'll be really excited to see if they have anything secret in the works that they can bust out and increase their revenue sources based off of the stable games that they've been running for a couple years now. Next, I want to talk about Twitter, ticker symbol TWTR. Twitter has been probably my longest held position on this portfolio, and today it got an additional boost as well as the market going up 4 to 5% because a lot of people are asking for the CEO Jack Dorsey to step down. He's also the CEO of Square, which is a company I'm not as bullish on overall, but people want Jack to be out of the way, which in investors' eyes thought it was a better move. Jack has been very all over the place when it comes to his priorities. It seems he's trying to spend I think it was 2 years living over in Africa and away from the two companies that he's running, so probably getting him out of the way is probably a benefit to both companies. But Twitter is a company that I love. I love their platform. I use it every day, multiple times per day, and I think they have the potential to become one of the leaders in news and become a legitimate news platform in the future. So I'm very bullish on Twitter. It was my best performing stock of February, and I intend to be in that stock for a couple years at this point. Next up, let's talk about StarBucks, ticker symbol SBUX. StarBucks was one of the first stocks in my portfolio that was negatively affected as a result of coronavirus. StarBucks reported earnings at the early part of this month, and as they reported great earnings, they talked at the very end of their presentation about how they're worried that the coronavirus, which was pretty new at that point, or was still starting to increase its media attention, could have a negative impact to their markets, especially in China, which they're working very hard to become well established there. And so companies like Luckin Coffee and Starbucks were very vocal at the beginning of the month, talking about how they were expecting to have some problems going forward. And so Starbucks got hurt by that at the very beginning of the month. Surprisingly, the stock is only down 7.5%, even though they were one of the first companies to kind of ring the alarm bell when it came to coronavirus. So it's not my favorite stock. I've talked in past videos how if I see a better option somewhere, I'm probably going to sell those shares and buy Snapchat. And realistically, if all of my Snap shares were in TD Ameritrade, I probably would have sold my Starbucks shares and bought more Snap. But since I have this weird disconnect between my entire portfolio, I'm holding both of those at this point. So I'll be waiting just a little bit longer. Maybe I'll just sell my Snap shares and buy them back on TD Ameritrade. Not totally sure yet. Starbucks is a company that I am comfortable holding, but I don't think it's the best place to put my money right now. So I'm kind of looking for better options, and I think Snap is the direction I'm willing to go right now. And so overall, Starbucks has not been the worst stock I've held this month, not the best by any means, but I was kind of impressed how well they've been able to hold up after ringing the alarm bell on coronavirus. Next up, let's talk about Bitcoin, ticker symbol Bitcoin, BTC. Bitcoin had a very interesting start to the month. They broke above 10,000 for the first time in a couple months, which was very exciting. There was a lot of momentum on their side, and as coronavirus started to become more of a news topic during the middle parts of this month, I was kind of hoping to see if Bitcoin was going to start acting like gold. In the past, gold has been kind of a safe haven for investors when the market gets very volatile. And gold was shooting up at that point, and Bitcoin has been falling ever since. The whole fact that it's only down 8% in the month of February is not that bad. But when you look at the charts, you can see that it started around 9,000, shot up to over 10,000, and now it's back below, I think it's like 8,500 right now. So it's kind of disappointing to see how well it started this month, and I was hoping that it would just increase the momentum as people looked for safe havens from the market volatility, but it appears like I may be wrong. At this point, Bitcoin is my second largest position besides Twitter, and it's something that I'm very comfortable in. I just kind of got teased by the fact that it broke 10,000. I thought we were on our way up, and it appears like the overall investors and the overall market is not ready for that yet. Bitcoin is something I will probably hold for about 5 years, so I'm not really worried about the monthly movements of it, but I think it's really interesting that it's down over 8% this month, but it was up above 10,000 just for a little bit, and then it fell out of the sky. Finally, let's talk about PayPal, ticker symbol PYPL. This is my smallest part of my portfolio right now after I've sold my Macys share. I just have a single share of PayPal, and it's something where I want to be a shareholder. I love the company. I don't think it's going to blow anyone out of the water. When I looked for news events on PayPal, I really could not find anything great. There's been a lot of buzz about Square and not a lot of talk about PayPal, which I am actually okay with. PayPal is the leader in the person-to-person transaction, and that's kind of where I want to be. I don't care as much for Square's business model, so PayPal is something that I'm very comfortable just holding one share just to say that I'm a shareholder overall. It was down 5.3% in the month of February, and I kind of expected to bounce back. I don't think that the amount of transactions will change that much. I'm just hoping for them to release some good news that'll push the stock up. There's been a couple months of just not a lot of talk about the company. They had poor news with their earnings, and they've just kind of been stagnant for a while, which is totally okay when the market's this volatile, but I'm kind of hoping to see some momentum start going in their favor soon. Also, at this point, this is probably the most cash that I've held in my account for a while. It's between 10 and 15%, depending on the fluctuations in my portfolio. And this is kind of, the only reason this is there is because I sold Macys. And I was very transparent about why I sold my Macys shares. It wasn't because of the overall market news. It was the fact that it broke a support that I had charted out for months in advance. And I told myself that if it broke below that, I was going to sell. And I've also been very vocal on I will not buy or sell anything else until this coronavirus stuff kind of gets settled out. So as a result, I will be sitting a lot in cash for a while. It'll just kind of be sitting there until maybe the market starts to recover. We get some news stories that coronavirus is starting to get contained a little bit better, and then the momentum will start going back into the market. Depending on which investors you talk to, 15% in cash can be a lot, can be a little. Investors like Warren Buffett, I know, are famously pretty heavy in cash right now as a result of the incredible 2019 we had, the conflicts that we had at the beginning of 2020, and I know Warren Buffett has talked about how he's kind of holding his money in cash right now looking for different opportunities. The fact I have 15% in cash has nothing to do with the fact that I think the market's just going to continue to fall. It's just the fact that with the volatility that's going on right now, I'm trying to look for some stability until I start adding that money back into the market. So let me know what you thought about my overall portfolio. I'm down 6.5% in the month of February, which is better than the overall market. So I'm very happy about that. You know, it's a good sign when the market is falling for the entire second half of February, and I wasn't worried at all. I was picking companies that I trust a lot, and the fact that the market's falling, I was going to let it do its own thing. Once things start to level out a little bit more, I'll go back and start looking at the charts and how they move during this very volatile time. But right now, these are companies that I trust, and I'm very comfortable holding in this volatile time. So let me know what news stories or companies you'd like me to talk about in a future video. Thanks for watching this episode, and I'll see you in the next video.